and welcome to Interfaith Spiritual Center. I believe we're here not by chance, but by divine appointment. And as I address our viewing audience, I acknowledge that you tuned in at this moment because there's something here for you, for each and every one of us. And on October 12th, as you know, I will be celebrating my 40th anniversary in the ministry. And in that, I always think I am the most blessed because we teach best what we need to know the most. We begin to embody it because this way of life is so easy to mouth, to give lip service to, think positive, don't go there, all the things that we do that we don't apply to ourselves, right? When we embody it, we don't need to go around correcting everybody, except if you're in my energy field and you say something outrageous, I will correct you because that's just what I do as a teacher and doing this for 40 years. And I always say, it's wonderful because we can make that little shift and it makes all the difference. It's just like, I was reading a book called Conscious Languaging, and he was talking about all the uns, where we think something's wonderful, we go, oh, it's unbelievable! And the universe says, you're right, I'm taking it away now, it's unbelievable. You really don't believe it. And someone said to me, yes, but I have gratitude for how wonderful it is. And I said, well, I made a shift. And when I started to say it's unbelievable, I said, wow, amazing, absolutely amazing, which creates the space for more good to flow into our lives, pressed down, shaken together, and flowing over into every area of our lives with a simple distinction, a little shift in consciousness to lift the vibratory frequency. Because remember what Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of life, think in terms of what? Energy, vibration, and frequency. And it's not about personalities. It looks like personalities. It looks like them and looks like her. But the truth is, it's about energy. And some things are not a vibrational match. It's not good or bad. It's the way that it is. Remember, in games people play, where Eric Burns said, I am not in this world to live up to your expectations. And you are not in this world to live up to my expectations. I am I, and you are you. And if by chance we find each other, it's beautiful. And if not, it can't be helped. Because everything is vibrating at a certain frequency, a certain energy. And once we get that, we don't get so devastated and hurt. It's interesting, Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind, said to refuse to have our feelings hurt. And what he was saying is that if we take it on, we weight ourselves down with the energy of someone else who obviously has something to work out, and we don't judge them. There was a man that wanted to know the secrets of life, and so he went to India. I don't know why everybody goes to India, and like my daughter said, she says, Mom, I was at the gas station, and there was the Indian, and he had a turban on, and I've known him before, and he gave me the amount of change, and we had a great exchange, and then he gave me a big hug, and then tried to French kiss me. She goes, why do we always think that somebody from India is Gandhi? And I said, it's just the energy that we kind of put out there, right? So it's fascinating the way that works. But India does have a vibrational frequency of spirituality because they do have the temples and the energy, and the Hinduism is very sacred. But not everyone from India is Gandhi, so we have to be aware of that as well. So when we look, in our own lives, in our own personal energy field, we want to learn, we want to grow, we want to hang out with the masters so that we can move to the next level. So this man went to India, and he went to a shopkeeper and he said, I'm looking for the great master, where can I find him? He said, there's a certain banyan tree. He said, you'll find him right on the outskirts of town, under the banyan tree. So he went and he saw this great banyan tree, and he saw a man under the tree, and he had a turban on, and it looked so spiritual. And when he got there, he discovered that, and he was asking questions, that better be God. He was asking questions, and he discovered that this great, guru was drunk. Yeah, so he was completely disillusioned. And so he went back to the shopkeeper, he left in such a huff, and he just felt, you know, how could this have happened? You know, I traveled all this way and the guru is drunk. So he said to the shopkeeper, he goes, how was your experience? He goes, oh, he said, terrible. He goes, I got there, I traveled all this way, I got there and the guru was drunk. And he said, oh, you didn't sit and move through this energy and listen to what he had to say? And he said, no, I was so insulted. How could he? Because, well, he is actually a very enlightened teacher, is one of the masters. And what he discovered is that he had great judgment on those who drank. So in this embodiment, he took that on, and had you stayed and listened, he said great truths come through him as a channel. So how many of us, you know, judge according to the appearances of what we're finding? And of course, the legend of the story, the energy of the story is about judgment. It's about moving through what we judge so harshly and having compassion that there are certain character flaws, aren't there? But within the character flaw, there is the saint, the energy of the guru, the holy master, that can move through that experience and come out on the other side. Alan Cohen is just a great spiritual teacher, and he's written many, many books, one of them being The Dragon Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And he was sharing a story that he was in Maui, where he lives, and he was driving and he saw in the rearview mirror that there was a policeman behind him, and he began to get nervous. He goes, some genetic throwback through the 60s, I guess. And he goes, I got very, very nervous. And of course, none of us here get nervous when we see the police following us. And we're too evolved for that, right? And so he thought, God, you know, I wish he'd just pass me. And then suddenly he realized, what's this about? I'm a spiritual teacher. I write books. I publish books on this stuff. And he shifted, he made the distinction. And he said, I know that the police are there to help me, that they love me and support me. And he said all the fear left him. And he just let it go, didn't keep looking in the rearview mirror, and he shifted his energy on the police. And he said it was so interesting because he had a Thanksgiving gathering, and he said, I am a vegetarian, but one of my friends made a great big turkey, and most everybody there, they were vegetarians, so we had a lot of turkey left over. And he said the recipient of the turkey was my dog Munchie. And he said I cut it up in little pieces and I put it, you know, in freezer bags and stuck it in the freezer, so every day I would give Munchie these wonderful little turkey bits for Munchie. He said, oh, about a month went by and we were all out of turkey, and I gave him back his, you know, dry dog food, and he refused to eat it. Forget it. I've had the big turkey. You're giving me pellets? Forget this. He refused to eat. He got accustomed to the turkey. So he said, I gotta go now to the market and get a turkey. I can't believe this. So he said, you know, he just kind of let it go. And Munchie was sort of giving him the cold shoulder because Munchie wanted turkey. And he said, I was driving, it was toward now Christmas time, because from Thanksgiving to Christmas and out of turkey. Driving to the market to get a turkey. He said, you can't make this stuff up. And I get stopped by the police. They've got a big roadblock. And they said, it's the holiday season, we're checking people's identification and to see if anyone is drinking. So he obviously passed with flying colors and gave his wonderful ID, and all of his papers were in order and all was well. And as he said, wait right here, he said, hey Joe! He called to another officer. And so he's thinking, who's Joe and why is he calling him? And so Joe says, he goes, I got one, live one right here. And he's thinking, what is all this about? But, you know, let it go. And he goes, you know, the people that come through this line and their papers are in order and they haven't been drinking, we're giving away turkeys. Now he thinks, I am on candid camera here. This must be candid, you know, this has to be candid camera. So Joe comes over, he gives him the turkey, he, you know, puts it on the seat next to him in the passenger side. And as he starts to pull out, Joe says, no, wait. And he said, we need a picture. So he says, Joe's backing up, he's taking almost in traffic. People were weaving around that they missed. And he said that he took a picture and it was in the Maui News about him winning this butterball turkey. And he said, what was so wonderful about this is that today's topic is we create our own experience. And when we get it, that we create our own experience and we make a minor shift within consciousness, and we make the longest journey on the planet, the 18-inch journey from the head to the heart, and begin to embody it, because it's done unto us as we believe in our heart. For where our treasure is, there our heart will be also. He made that shift. First of all, it started out with, in the rearview mirror, there was the police, and feeling nervous, and like, oh my gosh. And then making that shift to say, no, the police are there to help me. They love me. I am grateful. Sending out that energy and making that shift. And then when he made that shift about the police and gets stopped on his way to get a turkey, he says, you can't make this stuff up. I mean, it was just absolutely amazing, right? Not unbelievable, amazing. And he said, I got home and I was just beaming with holiday cheer. And he said, Munchie somehow knew that there was a turkey in my arms and just jumped all over the place, higher than usual. And he said, what was so beautiful is that once we have experienced true inner peace, we can no longer go back to fear. Just as Munchie could no longer eat the dry pellets, just wasn't going to do. He wanted the whole turkey, right? He wanted the turkey. So, once we have experienced inner peace, we can never go back to the way that we were. Because it is 6:30 on the evolutionary clock. We cannot go back. It's not 6:29. Life goes not backward nor tarries with yesterday. Life is the onward progression of the soul. So when we get that and we begin to embody that we create our own experience, even the guru who's going through his experience wants to experience what it is that he judges the most harshly, comes through it as an enlightened being. And it's up to us to realize each and every one of us is an enlightened being. We are growing, we are unfolding, we are expanding our consciousness, no longer judging outside of us. And when we're tempted to judge, instead of the judgment, to send compassion to the situation. I remember one Easter service, one Easter Sunday. My daughter and son-in-law lived in Menifee, and little Tai was just in arms, a babe in arms. And we had a wonderful Easter time, and we went out to brunch, and then Linda and I were going to go somewhere, and I received a call on my cell phone that they were hit by a car. And so, we immediately ran up to Indian Canyon, and, the young man's car was pretty bashed in, and my daughter's SUV, the bumper, it was a big car, so it wasn't that damaged. And little Tai in his little bassinet, on the seat, was sound asleep. He had, he just woke up for a minute and then he went back to sleep. And this young man that hit them, my daughter was crying and she was very upset because, just to be in that experience. And I said, all is well, Tai slept through it, you've got, a bumper that maybe needs to be replaced. This young man totaled his car, and she said he's drunk. And so some other man said, I tried to flag him down. I saw him weaving on Indian Canyon. I tried to flag him down. And, he was just on this course. I think it's drugs. So I went up and I put my arm around him. And I said, you're pretty scared, aren't you? He's kind of crying and goes, yes. And he talked about his meds and that he was on certain meds and it wasn't taking effect, so we took a few more of his meds. And I said, well, I want you to know that you are loved, and that you made a mistake, and that the police will be here and they will take you away. But what you need to know is that you can change this right here and right now. This is your wake-up call. And when you realize that this is your wake-up call, you won't need to look outside of yourself for tranquilizers and take more and more because you're trying to hide the pain. Because there is a presence in the universe that loves you and that wants you to be happy and alive and full of that energy of joy, which is the most infallible sign of the presence of God. And I talked to him till the police got there, and the police were just great. And then one guy said, yeah, he goes, these little guys, he goes, I believe it or not, I was hit by somebody, rolled the car, my SUV. My little guy was in his best, and actually he was in his car seat. We rolled, and he slept through the whole thing. It was just absolutely amazing how that happened. And, and I explained that there was, much sorrow in this young man, and that I knew, he knows he's going to go to jail, and but he needs help. And he said, well, we have those kind of facilities that also give help, and the police were also compassionate. And so when we acknowledge that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, that we can use it at any single moment that we so choose, and that we open our hearts and our minds to experience life at such a deep level, because guess what? We make a shift, we look in the rearview mirror, we see what life is reflecting back to us. We make that shift and say, the universe loves me, people love me, they are there to support me. It might look like the police, it might look like various other people, and energetically at the end of that line, there's a free turkey. More than I ever could have accepted or even thought about. Because you can't make this stuff up. That there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are. We are using it. And what I know is that trained thought is far more powerful than untrained thought. And when we begin to tap into that energy and make a conscious shift to lift the energy and the frequency, and we start to say something negative, and just to correct ourselves and say, this too shall pass, that this is a moment in my life, and that I have an opportunity here, and I'm going to make that opportunity work for me. I'm going to, and I may not feel it too much at the moment, because when you're going through stuff, the last thing you want to hear is anyone to say, think positive, because this is beyond positive thinking. This is about a feeling nature. It's about an energy that lives and moves and has its being at the center of each and every one of us, within our hearts, our minds, and our souls. So today, as I greet you, as I acknowledge this power, this presence, this love, this energy on this glorious Sunday, I know where we are going. Do you? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. And so it is.